Hi, I'm here to discuss about the philosophical and sociological foundations of research. So let's begin with the philosophical foundation of research. Well, when we speak about philosophy, it has been derived from the Greek words, that is philos and sophia. When we talk about philos, it implies love and sophia implies wisdom. Therefore, the word philosophy means the love of wisdom. Well, it explains an individual or a group, the worldview in general or in a specific context. It tries to attempt rationally in order to formulate, understand, and answer to various questions that arises in life. Philosophy studies the fundamental nature of reality, that it stands for metaphysics, which is the branch of philosophy that studies the nature of reality, of being and existence. Clear? Then it studies about knowledge, that is the other branch known as the epistemology, which studies the nature and scope of knowledge. Also, it speaks about the axiology, means the value part. Now here, it has been divided into ethics and aesthetics. When we talk about ethics, it implies the moral values, which studies and evaluates the human conduct, and the aesthetic part, it implies beauty. Clear? It focuses on the nature of beauty. So we understand that in our mind, we tend to have several types of questions. It might be based on our existence, our life, the nature, and so on and so forth. So philosophy helps to find a rational answer to those questions. Now, coming to the research part, in research, data is to be collected, we all know, isn't it? Without data collection, we can never generalize a conclusion or draw a conclusion. So data is to be collected in order to answer to the different sort of questions. It clarifies doubts. The purpose of gathering of information through experience, it brings it to light. It provides knowledge. So research is a way which enables us to bring into light. Okay, so we might have had a lot of questions in our mind, and we try to formulate certain hypotheses, and we do not end out there, right? So what we do is we try to process it. We try to find out what exactly it is, or what I have thought is it really existing, or is it really because of XYZ which I have thought about. So we try to collect data, so in order to clarify the doubts or the hypotheses that we have formed. So it brings to light through our experiences. So informations are collected as we are processing, we are experiencing it, we're gathering information, and we are able to analyze it, what exactly it is. So while collecting data, it is basically you say like we use the primary source as well as the secondary source. So while talking about the primary, it implies the questionnaires, and the secondary data collection, how we process it through the published work. So data is a way by which we collect informations. Clear? we collect the facts, and therefore data collection is considered to be one of the most important part in our research work. So you see, after collecting of data, it needs to be processed. Until and unless it is processed, how are we supposed to know what exactly it is, right? So it needs to be processed for extracting an information, for providing a meaningful information. It is based on certain parameters. Definitely parameters needs to be created, because our analyzing, our the process of data collection, everything will be based on the parameter. So we are binded, or we should be binded by certain parameters to go about systematically. So in a way, knowledge is gathered from the data that has provided some meaning, isn't it? So once we collect the data, what happens? It is processed, it is analyzed, and thereby an information is being obtained. So once an information has been obtained, means we have gathered knowledge about that particular thing, right? So knowledge helps in understanding the data, which is useful for taking a decision which is based on the parameter designed for the study. Thus, knowledge is one of the objectives of research, as it helps to understand what is going on and what is the output of the data collection. I guess you have understood. So when we are focusing on the philosophical foundation of research, we have to focus on the speculative aspect, the analytic aspect, the prescriptive and the normative aspects. So while stressing on the speculative part, it implies engaged in, expressing, or based on conjuncture rather than knowledge. So when we talk about conjuncture, we should understand that it is an opinion or a conclusion formed on the basis of those incomplete informations that has been processed. So it remains unproven. We are focusing on the unproven part. It makes claim that cannot be verified by everyday experience of the physical world or by a scientific method. You see, in speculative approach in research and practices, it's emerging across multiple fields as a way to develop not simply descriptive engagements with topics, but rather to make propositions that invent new possibilities for research and practices. So speculative approaches in research and practices are really emerging across multiple fields. Clear? So coming to the next is the analytic, which tries to bring together subtle details to create more proven assumptions. So here it is stressing on the processing way in order to clearly or distinctly define it. It aims for the critical thinking skills which are carefully assessed for facts finding. Okay, it should be skills. Well, now coming to the prescriptive. Well, in prescriptive, what happens now? Before stating anything, I would just like to say that whenever we fall ill, we go to the doctor. What does the doctor do? The doctor checks and thereby recommends some medicines or maybe a therapy basing on the ailments or the complications that we are facing. So basing on the patient's requirement, the doctor prescribed certain medicines or therapy or whatever. Why? So that the patient follows it. So the doctor recommends the medicines, right? So in a way, even in this case, what is happening is that now, having understood why it is occurring that way, certain recommendations have been specified or enlisted. Clear? It means to establish standards for assessing value, judging conduct, etc. The sets of instructions provided that requires to be followed. This philosophy looks, it looks to explain how the world is, instead of describing exactly what we sense. Clear? So, that's all about prescriptive. Switching on the normative, it implies the way to describe statements that are based on value. It deals with explaining how things ought to be. Okay? It is not what the standards are or what it is, but what it should be or it should be like. Clear? So it implies that certain norms needs to be followed, certain criteria needs to be followed. Like take for example, it has been emphasized that there should be a provision for free COVID vaccinations in all rural centers. So here in this particular statement, we should understand that in every rural centers there is a recommendations, there is a norm that there should be free COVID vaccinations. So this norm should be followed by all parts, in all nook and corners, which is meant to be the rural areas. Clear? Coming to the philosophical methods, we have the four methods here, that is analysis, synthesis, induction and deduction. Clear? So before speaking about the analysis and synthesis, I would prefer switching to the induction and deduction. Induction approach implies from specific example to generalization, concrete to abstract, particular to general, an example to a formula or a rule, known to unknown, bottom to top. Well, when we talk about learning by doing, it emphasizes on the inductive approach. It promotes the divergent thinking in an individual, and it is very much useful in the elementary level. Now, we see on particular issues when a research has been done, they normally gather the information. So after gathering the information, after doing it so, it is being generalized. Now take for example, we often hear that step-parents are rude towards their children, towards their step-child. Okay, so this is something normally, like you say, step-childrens, we often find that they're complaining that the step-parent are rude, they're not being looked after, and thereby it is mean generalized that we normally find step-parent, their attitude towards their stepchild is rude. Similarly, when we talk about some children complaining about their dryness in eyes, or maybe eye pain or eye infection, what we do is we visit a doctor. So the doctor might have said that a lot of children are coming these days. So it's because of the online classes that's being undertaken. So we conclude that, well, because of the online classes, it is leading to eye dryness or eye infection. So from particular, we are pushing to the general perspective. So even in case of experiencing betrayal among people whom we trusted, so what happens is that, like, after having a lot of experience that whom we have trusted has really betrayed, so we lose hope and say that I can't trust people. So we give a general perspective basing on our experience, a specific experience that we have gathered in life. So this is all about the inductive approach. So here what happens is that we observe it, we normally prepare a pattern, we frame a tentative hypothesis. On the basis of this theory is being framed. Clear? Now coming to the deductive approach, it is completely opposite to that of the induction. Here it is from generalization to specific examples, abstract to concrete, general to particular, a rule or formula to an example, known to unknown, top to bottom, complex to simple. It promotes the divergent thinking in an individual. So in this case, what is happening is that we normally form, you see, when we talk, or when someone says, supposing someone has stated that nothing is lasting in the world. So when we hear this, it's a general statement. So when we hear this, we think about it, and we say that, oh, nothing is lasting in this world. That means it could be life, yes. It could be anything, a machine, a work, nothing. Nothing is lasting in this world. So let's take another example. When we experience lack of sleep, clear? So when we try to understand that, oh, maybe I have taken a lot of coffee, or maybe before going to sleep, taking coffee implies that, yes, because of that I'm lacking sleep. So when we have a discussion and when we get our information, we conclude that, yes, there are people who lack sleep because they opt for coffee or tea, or they're addicted to it. So we have this in mind, that taking coffee leads to lack of sleep. So this is again, it is a deductive approach. So we have a general statement. Basing on that, we try to find out or particularizing it and finding out the reasons out of it. So in this case, we formulate a theory. Okay, a theory has been formulated. Then we formulate a hypothesis, observe the phenomena. If observation supports the hypothesis or the theory, we confirm that yes, it was correct. Clear? So this is all about the deductive approach. Even the example which I've given, like online classes and dryness of eyes. So in this deductive approach, what happens is that, supposingly, like I've given a statement stating that online classes had led to eye dryness. So is it really, is my hypothesis correct? So what I do is I try to inquire from students who have undertaken some online classes. So having inquired that, I come to the conclusion that yes, if they respond positive to my note, yes, I can conclude that online classes has led to eye dryness. So this is a deductive approach. So switching to the analysis and the synthesis part, is quite easy. It's more or less stressing on the inductive and the deductive approach. So when I talk about the analysis part, it is emphasizing on the inductive approach, whereas when I'm emphasizing on the synthesis part, it is emphasizing on the deductive approach. So normally, just try to understand that analysis, when I say analysis, analyzing something, the problem is normally broken down into small parts. Clear? Whereas in synthesis, what happens? It is a process of adding the different parts, and the whole lot of ideas we can generate it from that process of binding the parts together. So it is a process from hypothesis to conclusion. We are forming a hypothesis, and then we are drawing a conclusion. It is from known to unknown, from complex to simple, presenting discovered thoughts. Again, it's a way reasoning based. Normally we say that reasoning based on memory. So that's all about the synthesis part. Clear? So that's all for today. See you next. Till then, stay blessed.